Cowboy OTAs yesterday. Brian Schottenheimer was asked about what he is better at in year 2, and he said, look, we obviously need to get more wins. I think the culture is better. I'm more involved in the defense and special teams early on. So that's Brian Schottenheimer talking about his adjustments. Said he's going to switch things up with the practice schedule in Oxnard, but that was Schotty yesterday. Why are you smiling?
Because that's an indictment. That was last year what we talked about, the idea of like, okay, was it an indictment that you needed to go over and spend time in the defensive meeting room?
Well, you wouldn't think that you would need to.
Right, you wouldn't think that you would need to, but was it an indictment that you wouldn't have to spend time in the meeting room, or that was when you did it was like in week 5? Like, should you have been in there earlier? So Schotty right there, I guess, is telling us I should have been in there earlier just to, like, or been more present to make sure everything was running the way it needed to be running.
Said they did not spend a lot of time on ball security last year. Again, he looked like he wanted to puke at the podium when talking about, I think, -9 with the turnover differential. Said absolutely unacceptable. And then Dak Prescott was asked with some audio, DallasCowboys.com, where he thinks the offense needs to improve, and Dak did not hesitate.
Yeah, red zone. Just plain and simple red zone. We talked about it last year throughout the year, and then so you get into the offseason, you look at the numbers. I don't remember exactly what it was, but one of them were, I think, 30th in some red zone ranking, and that's just unacceptable, especially with the players we have, the talent we have, the coaches we have, the schemers. So that was put on notice for everybody, put on notice, the whole unit, and we're all, pushing not only get better in that, but as you said, every aspect, but that's a place that you have to get better at.
Thank God you paid the kicker a bunch of money then. Thank God you got him back. Now you can continue to have that red zone percentage below.
No. Man, that is the red zone is
that is the red zone percentage. Is field goals are take away from your red zone percentage.
It's the offense's fault that they're
getting them in a 4th and 3.
We're not good enough that they were in the red zone. That's the offense's fault. You don't blame Brandon Aubrey because the offense couldn't get it done.
I'm going to blame the usage of Brandon Aubrey and the play calling leading up to it.
I bet you could find a correlation between like the Super Bowl champ and where they are in the red zone touchdown percentage. It's probably pretty fair that most of the Super Bowl champs are in the top 8. Right, in red zone touch and conversion, it probably makes sense, and sometimes teams pop. We have seen year to year that red zone percentage. Now, look, it's stable for Tom Brady, right? Tom Brady almost always was high in the red zone percentage, right? It's stable for certain guys, but for your average or your non all-time great quarterbacks, teams, whatever. It is a little bit, there's a little more variance to red zone and how you are year to year. It doesn't always carry over.
I'm looking at the numbers for last season. Looks like Philadelphia led the way at 70%. That would make a lot of sense.
The tush push
yes.
changes things for them, right? It's kind of a cheat code.
Yep. Buffalo, 67%. Cincinnati, Allen. Yep. Cincinnati, San Fran, Washington, Indy, Rams, Detroit, Jacksonville, Atlanta were your top 10. The Cowboys were here at 16 with a 57% conversion. I think I'm getting that right. That's from TeamRankings.com. But I think Dak was talking about being 30th in some of the different categories, so I don't know.
I think it was probably, because like I said, he said one of these rankings. I don't think it was just the raw red zone ranking. I think it was one of these analytics.
This is just touchdowns only.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, ESPN.com with the biggest remaining questions for every quarterback in the league.
Yeah, and for the Cowboys, the question is, can Dak finally add playoff success to his resume? And the write-up is, this is his 11th season. He's got a record of 83, 55-1, 2-5 in the postseason. The 8th time he's played at least 12 games. But this was the first of those 8 which Dallas had a losing record in. So every other year he played 12 games or more, they had a winning record. We've talked about that. Like when the Cowboys have had a healthy quarterback, basically since they moved on from Quincy and they basically brought Romo in,
the GOAT.
Right? When they've had a healthy quarterback, they've been 8-8 or above. It's easy for fans to wonder whether he'll ever attain the postseason success they expect, especially if they struggle to even contend for the postseason. But if we assume the defense is improved and he stays healthy, they should be in good position to return to the playoffs. It might not be totally fair to pose a question that can't be answered till January, But he's one of the most established trend starters in the league. There aren't many more questions for him to answer, except for the big one.
So I thought this was a dart right in the middle of the bullseye, but you disagree.
Well, here, what bothers me is
that's like my literally only remaining question left with him.
So I guess the question is, can he become Superman? I don't think, and I don't even think that's a question. I don't think he can become Superman. Like, Superman is the guy who's Josh Allen, puts the cape on, leads you to a Super Bowl. Like, just him.
Which Josh Allen can't do either.
Josh hasn't done that either yet.
Why does he have to be Superman? Why does he have to become Superman? Yeah.
He doesn't. No, he doesn't. I'm saying I don't think he's. That's not him.
Okay.
I don't think he's at that level. Like, that level is for the GOATs, the GOATed of the GOATs.
Okay. But to me, that's a separate conversation.
Yeah, I don't need Dak to advance to the NFC Championship game or even a Super Bowl to be able to say, I believe that he can win in the playoffs. I believe Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl. I believe Dan Marino could have won a Super Bowl. Looking back in his career.
Yeah, well, he got to one.
Yeah, he got to one.
Dak hasn't come close.
Dak hasn't come close. I don't think that if you say, if you were to just ask me, do I think Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl? I literally just saw him win a Super Bowl, and I still would tell you I don't think Sam Darnold can win a Super Bowl. Like, as the guy. When you're along for the ride, that is totally different. And I don't think Dak is the upper top tier of player to where you put this on him. Like I've said before, he's not a legacy player.
Who can he just absolutely... Who do you think he just absolutely not? Let's say...
I thought this was a fair question. This would be a fair question for Romo, and I think you can have a Dak-Romo fun comparison and conversation. Mm-hmm. So do you disagree with that? To say, will Tony Romo ever be able to ball out in the postseason and get a lot of playoff wins? Is that unfair to ask to have asked of him?
It's not unfair. No, it's not unfair. I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't need Dak to advance to a Super Bowl to know that he's good enough to win in the playoffs.
Okay.
Like, if
you don't believe there's a difference with him performing in the postseason.
Not necessarily.
That's what you're saying.
Like, if you
don't think there's such a thing as like playoff game performances. You've already made up your mind he's good enough.
I believe he's good. Because like, if you think, and Bobby said that he's better than Jared Goff, who's been to 2 NFC Championship games. So if Jared could go to 2, then Dak is good enough to go to some. He just hasn't. Like, just
I think
the whole thing is, like, just because he hasn't gone doesn't mean he can't.
Yeah, but he hasn't played great. I think we're now reverting back to.
He hasn't played consistent. He's had games where he has played great in the postseason.
Okay, well,
like that Ram game. In 2018.
It's not been consistent, no. But I mean, like, he's shown capability to play at a high level in playoff games.
Well, Dak against Green Bay was not it. Dak against San Francisco. No. Dak was fantastic, I remember, I believe, against Tampa Bay and Brady. Dak against San Fran, dud. The Rams game, I don't remember him being spectacular or anything fantastic in that game. I was at the Seattle game. Well, Brian, Dr. Pepper, feel free for another invite.
Yeah.
That was no offensive shootout. I'm not saying he played terrible, but it wasn't like Dak Prescott had a great playoff game in that moment. I think what we're kind of reverting back to now, which I thought you had kind of changed your mind about this, is clutch. I think you're removing like playing in the playoffs from this discussion because Dak has really good regular season numbers.
Yeah, like
you don't believe that anything changes upstairs with him or in his body or nerves wise when he plays a postseason game, and I think that is a major question and concern amongst Cowboy fans. It's a question in my mind when they're trying to win playoff games. What's he going to do?
I think the issue is I believe that you come down, not necessarily go up, right? So that's my clutch thing. I don't think you rise to the next level. But
like Kyrie Irving folded in Boston. He folded. And everyone knew he was going to fold. Mm-hmm. And he got shut down.
I think what happened,
he wilted.
I think Dak's issue is the playoffs are against good teams. That's where he has had some, and the Cowboys in general.
Yeah.
They have had their struggles. They do not play up very well. They're bullies.
Yeah.
We've talked about them being bullies. And I don't know if it's a playoff thing or just a good team thing. And sometimes it goes hand in hand. But we've seen enough games in the regular season where they've played good teams. They've laid some eggs.
A lot. I don't have any confidence in the Cowboys against
a good team.
If they face Brian Flores tomorrow, Brian Flores is going to shut them down.
Yeah, I think
if they in my opinion, they face a really the Houston Texans are probably going to shut them down. That's what's going to happen.
No, I agree.
Very rarely can I remember coming in here and going, they face a great defense and they equaled or won the matchup offensively.
I totally agree with that, and I think it's more that than playoffs. Now, the problem is that's all you face in the playoffs is good teams. You don't face scrubs.
Well, you don't face great defenses all the time.
Not all the time.
A lot of teams without great defenses.
Yeah. But good teams you've got to go shot for shot with sometimes, and he hasn't necessarily done that. And those Niner teams were pretty nasty. Now, they may not have been like the most elite defenses in the world, but they would punch you in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, San Francisco made it difficult on teams. They've made the Super Bowl a couple times or whatever. But does he need to play better in the postseason? Yeah, he needs to be more consistent. The whole thing with him is that, even the very first Green Bay game, that was an impressive battling back and getting you in a position, and he put up good numbers and he played well. But early on, they didn't do enough, and so they were in a hole because he wasn't doing enough. And so even within the games where he's played well, it's not been good necessarily for the entire game. There are times where it's you're forced to rally a little bit. But is it impossible for him to win a Super Bowl? No. He can absolutely, he has the capacity to do it. It's just the question of, if you just look at it as a talent thing, he has the capacity to win a Super Bowl.
Agreed.
If you then look at it from the perspective of, does he have the makeup and the conference and the opponent, because all of that's going to give the context as to whether you have to lay it out for me and say, okay, here are the opponents that he's going to have to face along the way. Here's the teammates that he's got. This is the roster that he has. This is who he'd play in the Super Bowl. If you lay that out for me, then I go yes or no. I would be able to tell you if I thought he'd be able to rise to that.
Yeah, for sure. I think if you put them up against Philly in the playoffs, he knows how to beat Philadelphia.
Let me see. I want to see right now. I got to look. Let me look and see what Darnold ran up against last year. And if it
was the Niners, it was the Rams.
New England, Rams, San Fran, and L.A. His numbers were not. But again, I don't think it's as simple as saying.
When it's 41-6, I don't expect them to throw necessarily. It could be either way. They could be up so much and they run the ball.
Yeah, but I don't think the argument is as simple as saying, Trent Dilfer got a ring, so can Dak Prescott? Yeah. I kind of just boil it down to, all right, what do I believe Dak is going to do in these games and in these moments? And he has to elevate. He has to be better.
Yeah, he's not.
I have a question mark. I'll say it flat out. It's hard to get inside of a player's head and choke and clutch and all those things. I have a question about Dak Prescott's mental if we get there. I have a little question. It's not a. I'm not thinking he's going to wilt, but I wonder. I mean, and I don't blame him 100%. There's a lot of people in serious pressure moments who change and don't always have a Tom Brady, Derek Jeter gene in the clutch. I have a question about Dak in big moments when it comes to the postseason. What he's going to do? That's an existing question for me right now.
I think I don't have a question about his mentals. I think he's mentally one of the tougher players out there, and I think he can weather that moment. I think the bigger issue to me has been San Francisco has been just a team, regular season or not, he doesn't play well against. He caught them a couple times. They did to him what they always do to him. And then the Green Bay game, that was collectively everybody, including Dak, everybody just looking like they gave up on that season. They just walked in there was okay. None of them looked like they gave a damn that day. And so those, a lot of that, I feel like those performances that I see, I feel like I see that from him the regular season against San Francisco regardless. That's how he plays against them.
877-881-1053. Rashawn Gary was asked about the makeup. Was this NFL Network?
Yep, Good Morning Football.
Rashawn Gary asked what is standing out about number 4 early on.
Man, me and Dak, man, he's a true leader from top to bottom. I'm talking about I'm driving in. I'm trying to pick up some cleats. Just a short time is like right before the off-season program begins, and he seizes me. And he's driving out. He had to, but he backed all the way up, got out the car, and introduced himself. I'm like, I know who you are. Things like that. Gave him my number, and we started talking from there. But that's just a true leader, man, day in and day out. And I haven't seen a guy like this, and I see why guys, it's easy to go to war for a guy like that.
I think that does. We had talked about this before, that when you speak to players about like the whole thing of like, okay, what are you not saying when you like gravitate towards the leadership stuff so easily? And I remember that was something that Brandon Cooks had said. He's like, you think it's something that we're not saying. We're trying to. It's what you're not getting, which is like you don't understand how impactful that is for us. Like it was similar to what Dalton Schultz said, where he's like, the confidence that like breathes into everybody else is significant, and it's a real psychological impact, and that's why it stands out to so many people.
All right, the other questions, by the way, remaining, I guess we can just do the quarterbacks in the NFC East from ESPN.com. Can Jackson Dart learn how to protect himself? He's saying all the right things with his brand new head coach, who is emphasizing, like John Gruden did when Dart was coming out, to get down and protect. Is Jalen Hurts, you got something on that?
Well, that's like, for a quarterback that is used to running or playing that style, I imagine that is a really difficult thing to kind of coach out of them, for the main point that when you do that, you are taking an instant away. You're putting thought in their head.
It's a lot of assumption, though, that the biggest question about Jackson Dart and his career at this point is like, can he just protect himself? If he protects himself, he's a superstar. It's like, what? That's a lot of assumption and belief. This glazing, just licking up and down on the New York Giants is ridiculous.
It would seem that a lot of people have already made their minds up on him.
They made up their minds on the Giants, and I think it's freaking ridiculous.
But it's also like when you start telling a quarterback to think instead of instinctively doing things, I think you slow down their process a little bit.
Is Jalen Hurts' future in Philly on the line this season?
Ooh.
And Big Dom, I guess, was talking to Mike Garafolo.
He was, about the A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts breakup, and what was the catalyst of all of this, and was it just some kind of major rift between the two?
Let me add this part. So A.J. Brown closed the chapter on his time in Philadelphia because he was there at the facility last week. I believe it was Thursday. He was there to pick up some stuff at the facility and say his goodbyes. On the walls there, they have pictures of Pro Bowl players, and A.J. signed his. They have the players sign it. So he signed it, and then from what I was told, he then added, "The best to ever play here, always open." Now that signature is going to stay up on the wall. They may have to edit out the message as well, but and no hard feelings or anything like that. It's just he had his affinity for the time that he played in Philadelphia, and they still love him. There's still a lot of love for him inside that building.
Okay, so that was part one of it. Part two is where he
just summarize it.
Yeah, as a summary, it basically is Big Dom saying, "Bupkis, garbage." That there's a rift between Hurts and A.J. Brown. That was not the reason for the divorce.
Yeah.
You got to protect the family. He's not going to snitch.
I believe everything that Big Dom says. Italians have no history of doing anything untoward.
Why didn't you take the picture with Big Dom then?